Angular. I see a lot of people in the audience who know UI. Concerns me a little bit. So I want to just take a quick poll since we only have 50 minutes and I've been told to end early since it's right before lunch. So what are you here for? I'm going to ask a couple questions. Who is here just to like check out the basics of Angular and see what an Angular app looks like? Okay, who is here to learn how to UI better, how to do CSS better? Okay. Who is here to learn specifically about how to do that with Sass? Okay, a couple, okay. Who is here to learn about component libraries and how to integrate them into your application? A couple, okay. It was pretty broad. That was a very nice sprinkling. Each one got at least a couple votes. So I will touch on all the subjects, but I will try to hopefully make it relevant to you. This is not a one-way conversation. Feel free to shout out, have comments or questions throughout. I'm bringing up my GitHub so that you can go to the top pin right there called Beginner UI in Angular. So Alyssa Michelle is my GitHub name. I thought it might be easier if I had all of the links in one spot. So if you go to my GitHub, go to that top pin, you should see this. Bigger, we can go bigger. And if you scroll down, it talks about a UI challenge. So there is a link there for the repo. So if you want to take part in the challenge, there are some Amazon gift cards on the line. Meryl has a couple of $25 Amazon gift cards at the booth that she will give out to whoever wins the challenge. Now, we obviously don't have a ton of time, so I don't want you to feel like, oh my goodness, I don't have enough time to install something or to add something or to style something. Literally, people have won this by changing the color of a button, right? So if you're worried, you're not good enough, your CSS chops aren't good enough, I assure you they most certainly are. So that is the challenge. I feel like people learn better when they're doing something like actively, but feel free to just chill and watch as well. So that repo, actually, if you scroll down in the README, it links you to a version of John Papa's repo. So back in the day, John Papa, I guess he's a .netter, and I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm making it a word, as well as an Angularite. And so he created the Tour of Heroes, and it's still scattered throughout the Angular docs as like a learning demo. And so that is the basis on what we're doing here today. My version just updated the Angular versions to keep it up to date. So yes, I have it running locally. I will show it to you. That is what you will be working on if you want to do the UI challenge. But there's also Stack Blitz. I don't know if all of you know about Stack Blitz. It's a thing. It's really cool in browser editor. If you're worried or your npm install is like, not happening, or your environment's giving you weird bugs, I highly suggest you do this second version here, where you can, like any GitHub like repo, you can just pull up on Stack Blitz by adding, you say GitHub, the username, and then the name of the repo, and it will start up the environment. So there's that link as well if you want to do it in browser. That should be all of the introductory goodies. Oh, right. So if you want to send me a screenshot, tweet me. I'm Alyssa Nicoll on the Twitters. Twitter. Yeet. Alyssa, I'm just like showing you. I am a gamer. I'm also a diver. I did yeet you. So yes, this is my Twitter. You can tweet directly at me. You can tweet the hashtag of HeyKendoUI, whatever floats your boat. If you don't have a Twitter account, and yes, I have had people do this challenge, and they were like, I don't have Twitter. And I was like, this is new for me. This is the first. Thank you for being, this is awesome. You can also email me, but just come up after and I'll hand that out. Okay, so let's get started. I have the repo, as I promised. This is so small. It's so small and you cannot see it. And I'm just gonna go ahead and serve it up. And we're gonna walk through some of the code, and this will be the Angular portion, where I kind of show you what a very basic Angular app looks like, what Angular uses, and then we'll dive into beautifying the UI a little bit. So also let me know if I'm not loud enough. I can be louder, or I can just turn this off and then just speak really loud. I'm just worried about like blowing out the people in the front 2 rows, so. those guys right there, those nerds. Awesome, okay. So We're gonna, I already have it pulled up. I'm a goober. Here we go. Yes, thank you, Chrome. You're beautiful and we love you. This is obviously way bigger than it starts, but I'm serving at localhost. This is the glorious tour of heroes. It's just a little like dashboard that's showing these, I call them cards for lack of a better term. You click into one, it shows you the hero details. You can go to this heroes page, which also lists out all of the heroes with this other version of cards. I love this. There's so many like, UI red flags right away of like, why are these heroes displayed differently than my top heroes? And I get it, I guess if you want to highlight these. But also, I don't know if anybody else is like eye-twitching about the centered header there with everything else is left aligned. That was like the very first thing I changed on my own version of this, which we'll get to. But let's do a quick Angular tour, shall we? I think it's on this one. So I need a color that is not purple or, I don't know what you call this, teal? I need a color that is not purple or teal. Orange. Ugh. That was totally supposed to make it to you. Okay, these are gift cards, by the way. Amazon gift cards. Okay, so I use Peacock, also a John Papa product. I'm not sponsored by John Papa, but if he wants to, So Peacock changes the color of your VS Code so that you don't get confused on which project you're working in. Happens to me all the time. Definitely suggest that extension. But we're going to change the color to not that. Okay, enter a color orange. Yeah, I don't know, that looks yellow, but we're going with it. So this is what we're working in today. This is the wrong one. This is exactly why this is needed. I'm gonna actually put him on like a different desktop way over here so nobody ever sees him. Okay, Angular tour of heroes, yes. This is our basic bud. And I am also learning PC right now. So I keep hitting the wrong hotkeys. I don't know if you've ever gone from Mac to PC. Would not suggest it right before a talk. It's just brain boggling. So over here, I think I can make these bigger. Like, yes, I can. Yes, we can. Okay. So this is our application inside the source file. We've got our app folder, assets, environments, pretty basic stuff, polyfills, blah, blah, blah. Got your beautiful Angular JSON, which I do feel we have reached the point of it's a little bit too big. There we go. So I have changed a couple things because if you notice, the npm installs are a little slow if you're doing that right now. So I did go ahead and start some npm installs, but everything else is the same as John Papa left it. So if we go up into our app folder, you can see we've got routing, which this is how Angular does routes. It's pretty straightforward. I don't know. I've grown up with Angular. Like that's how I grew into being a developer. And so when I see other things like React, I'm like, what are you doing? Why do you do that? So if you are used to another way, this is how Angular does it. You pass in the path. This is obviously our root path because there's nothing defined here. But then you can also say this dashboard component needs to load when we go to /dashboard. This is very basic. I am going to go straight into, let's see, our app modules. Oh, modules. How I love thee. How many of you know about modules in Angular? Anybody? Nobody? Oh, this is a spicy topic we get to foray into. So there's been a really cool thing. The Angular team does a request for comments. And I'm going to show you just because I love that they do this. And I have it. You get to see all of my ridiculous bookmarking. It is a problem. So on the Angular core page, they have this request for comments, and the current one right now that is out, and it's going to close very soon. So if you're passionate about this, even if you're just entering, absolutely go through, read it. But essentially, most other frameworks, I'm going to go ahead and say all other frameworks, the smallest bit that you can have is a component. It's the smallest reusable bit. But Angular has modules which live like at a lower level than components, and it's where you put things like your dependencies. that that component or these 3 components are going to use, and they're all pointing to that shared module, or you can have individual modules per component. And so as Angular moves forward, the team is suggesting doing optional modules, which, as you can imagine, is going to lead to no modules. So if you're just getting started into Angular, modules are something that they like to gloss over when you're new because it just complexes things. But essentially, it is the thing underneath components. This application here has 1 module. All the components point to that module, have the shared dependencies, blah, blah, blah. But definitely check out the RFC, and if you're interested in being more and more a part of the Angular community, they put these out quite frequently, and they are listening to the community feedback, so I love it. If we go into, let's just open up dashboard component. This will show you the heart of Angular here. So we have directives, which are things that can change the structure of the DOM or how the DOM looks. So this is like an ng4, and it's looping through our heroes. And for every single hero, it's spitting out this template that's printing out the hero name. And this is on our dashboard component. So if I go back to the browser, it's like these buds are being printed out with that ng4. And then on click, that's what's linking it to the go to detail page, and it's passing in the individual hero that we have because of the ng4. So pretty basic stuff. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not really sure where you're at in your UI journey or your framework journey. And then we also have things like when you create a new component, like hero search, this is how it's including hero search on the page. And if we go and open up that component, you will see it's just a div wrapper with an h4 and an input. And then if we go and use it, you'll see how the dropdown, like I start typing and it's doing this dropdown business. So I've got double dropdown happening, but this is the one that's being built out here in the template. And you click on it and it'll take you to the details. So pretty basic stuff, but does anybody have any specific, I want to know more about Angular in this specific space? Because I'm about to go into a CSS SAS and like UI lesson, but before we do, I just wanted to kind of stop and be like, anybody got like Angular questions? And you can always catch me afterwards. I'm gonna be at the booth looking through the submissions. Seriously, changing the color of a button could win you $25. So, I mean, why not, right? Okay. SAS versus CSS. Oh, it's fun. I had this like moral dilemma because Angular in the newest version dropped IE 11 support, which allows us to now utilize, the native web APIs and some of the cooler things in CSS. And as we're moving forward, I'm predicting that SAS will no longer be a thing. But I've been told by friends, one's in the front row, that we're pretty far out from that still, and to calm down and stop panicking, right? So I do think I jumped the gun on that. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about SAS, how to include it into your Angular apps, how to utilize it to kind of theme things. But I do feel, as all things with the web, that one day we will no longer need it. But apparently we're not there yet, so no one freak out. So if you go back to the README, I have a lovely little section. Not you, goodbye. If you scroll, so yes, these are some of the things I want to talk to you about: how to routes, modules, components, templates, blah, blah, blah. And we will go into things like data binding as we recreate the cards. But now I want to talk about SAS variables versus CSS custom properties. And this is the command to include it if you're creating a new Angular app. So the Angular has a CLI, and so anytime you see that ng, that's like starting a CLI command. And so it's new upping an app with the Angular CLI, and it's specifying I want it to be SCSS. But if we go ahead and do that, CLI actually, I'm just gonna go somewhere that it doesn't matter. Like my desktop? Yeah, let's go to the desktop. And then we're just gonna ng new. So when you ng new, the CLI's got a really cool thing. Would you like a name for it? And I'm gonna be like Bob. And then do you want to enforce stricter type? Always. And then would you like Angular routing? Because some apps don't need routes, right? And then it gets to this point, which is really cool. So you don't need the flag, but if you want to plop it in there, you can always just specify SCSS, SAS, less, stylus. So for those of you unfamiliar with these things, they are just layers on top of CSS to give it a little bit more, well, it changes the syntax of it. And in some cases, Sass is doing some things that I don't think you can do in CSS. I don't know. Yeah. So we will dive further. We're going to choose SCSS. Oh, the difference between SCSS and Sass is essentially syntax. So they're the same thing. If we go to the browser and we type in Sass, hopefully we get proper things. Oh, Sassling. I always forget. I'm like, how do I get there? It's not just sass.com. So Sass, as you're seeing here, it's going to be the CSS extension, and there are two versions of it. One, which is SCSS, which has curly braces, which I'm a huge fan of. And I think that's why I've been welcomed so lovingly into the .NET community, because I'm like, yeah, types are great, and who would want to get rid of their brackets? And my husband, he's a huge fan of full-blown Sass, where you just use essentially indentations to denote, this style belongs to that selector. So you just get rid of a bunch of things. So we're going to be doing SCSS today, but that is the difference between the two. So I need to get out of this. So just create and run your little heart out. Okay. So what we're going to do is back in the README, we're going to use the second one, which is going to, I think it just changes one line essentially to allow SCSS in our projects. Which this is really cool because I'm going to go back to our project and stop the server and make it center on the screen. What's really cool about SCSS is that all CSS is valid SCSS, so it's very cool to add in SCSS and then kind of like change things in your project as you go. So, because nobody wants to say, okay, now every single file I need to go and rewrite things, right? So essentially, in our application, we could go and take all of these CSS files and just change it to .scss, and we're valid. We're good. It's fine, right? So if you're trying to make this transition, it's also fine to have a mix. I'm going to go ahead and say it and maybe upset some people. If you want to start adding in Sass to your applications, to try and utilize it in certain parts or maybe certain components, it's okay to sprinkle it in and use it slowly. So what we're going to do, I don't think we have a root, this guy down here, styles.css. This is the global style sheet. So are any of you familiar with view encapsulation with components? I see 1, 2, 2. I see 2 this and 1 this. I don't know about that mode. I'm thinking maybe. So Angular has this really special, really fun, and other frameworks might also. Does Blazor have view encapsulation? Like for styles, does it encapsulate per component? So per component, the view is encapsulated, meaning the styles belong to that component. So if I say to my dashboard component, I want your H4s to be bolded, H4s everywhere else are not going to be bolded, right? It's kind of taking that CSS and making it not global. So this style sheet is the only place that like all things are going to listen to and point towards. Okay, we're at 42. Lunch is at, I need to do a quick time check, 12:20, I think? Somebody help me out. 12:20, okay, but we want to let out early. So I'm going to say I have 30 minutes left. We're okay. Let's do this. So we're going to rename this buddy, because we can now, to SCSS. And for those of you who are doing the challenge, I have a link at the very bottom, these resources. One of them is Color Inspo, and someone at a talk actually shouted this out. We went to it, and it's beautiful. It's live. I love it. So colorhunt.co has these amazing themes. Do any of them just like speak to you today? Because we're just going to use one of them. Any? Purple and black. This one. I like it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the differences between Sass variables and, well, CSS variables, or custom properties, if you will, to be proper. What I love about this, when you click on the color, it copies the hex. It's so amazing. So we renamed this to SCSS, which now gives us the ability to create variables, which I wanted to kind of jump us forward. This one. So usually I like to put, instead of everything in styles CSS, I like to create a variables folder, or variables folder, I say variables file. Sorry, I think I'm in the wrong one. 1 second. This one. And so I like to create a nice little place to put our variables. And so this app is a little bit further along. But essentially, these are sassy variables with a $sign. And of course, it doesn't have to just be colors. It can be sizes, whatever you'd like. So we are going to go ahead and create our own here. And I'm just going to do it in SCS in the styles sheet right now, but we can create our own variable file. So we will do purple, and I think there was like 3 different purples. We need a hex. And I want to now utilize that purple. So I'm going to go into, I really don't like how it squishes all of this. I don't know how you all do the CSSs, but this is driving me batty. Who would want this? We barbarians? Okay. So we're going to change the text color to that purple and just plop it right in, right? It's easy peasy. That's beautiful. But I want to show you the difference now with CSS custom properties. So it is, I believe it is dash dash, and then we say purple. And then you'll notice there's like, it's unhappy. It needs to be inside, this is a major difference, it needs to be inside a selector. Very commonly, root is the thing that you will define your variables inside of. And tab that over. And I don't know, oh, I was like, what's happening with $? You can do that. I don't suggest you point to it. Okay, so now we have the same thing, but it is encapsulated inside of root. And if we wanted to utilize it, we'll give it to maybe body. Thank you for inlining all of that. Color. And this is where it gets beautiful. You do need the var around it. So this is default to CSS. You don't have to download anything or include anything in your application. And you can create, I'm going to actually jump us to that one that should be peacock purple. Well, fine, we'll be teal. So if we go in here, I'm going to show you this one. Oh, I took it out. This one? No, I don't think I have it in here for you. Okay, but essentially, you can continue to define these in root, but the problem with view encapsulation in Angular is that you don't always necessarily have access to that root, right? Because we're encapsulated. And so if you, let's go ahead and create, I'm going to go back to this guy. So we have our variables in this folder, and we are utilizing those by importing it. I think probably you? No. You? Somebody's importing it. You're importing that style sheet into this component. And so you're basically just giving all those variables access. And so now we can put purple here, or we can use mouse as the margin bottom. And this is it's very basic, right? Like you're extending things and you're saying, okay, I have this baseline of a theme or a brand, and I want to go ahead and use that. And this is really, really helpful whenever you go ahead and incorporate a component library into your work, because then you can start to say, okay, we have this list of variables. It's like our definition set, right? And we now need to make everything match that. And it's really great to have one spot to change things or to base things on, because sometimes you do math. Down here, I'm not doing math per se, but for our cards that I included on hover, I went ahead and I'm using scale color to go ahead and lighten our purple. So on hover, it's the same color, but it's lightening it, right? And so to me, this is the magic of Sass. Will CSS ever fully replace it with these things are called mix-ins, or will custom properties ever be supported everywhere? I don't know, maybe, but if you're looking to go ahead and scale your app up, I definitely suggest taking a look at Sass. It's very powerful, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so we're at 50. I want to go ahead and show you, I want to actually do some CSS and start styling. So if we go back to our dashboard, she needs some love. And I just want to show you how I do this because it's pretty eye-opening to some people. At least it has been in the past when I show them how I get started on a project like this. If this was like a client and they were like, please help us, I would just literally dive in using, I love Chrome Dev Tools. I know there's a lot of, I almost said Opera, that's not it. Firefox, I think there's a lot of Firefox lovers out there for their dev tools. Yeah, there you go. I don't know, they're very loud. There's like the 3%, but they're very loud. I'll be on stream, like on Twitch, and I'll be talking about Chrome Dev Tools, and everyone's like, Firefox. And I'm like, who are you Firefox lovers? So if you're out there, props, I don't know, but. So yes, the first thing, this guy, right? If you don't know an application and you're tasked with beautifying it, I love inspecting, finding it, and being like, you're an H3, which is great. It's pretty semantic. Obviously, top heroes. What's going on with your CSS, though? So let's take a look. It looks like we're text aligning center. Not entirely sure why. So we either need to center the cards, I believe, or we need to left align the header. So at this point, I would just be like, open the right application is my first thing. Command Shift find, I think it was top heroes. There you go. So I'm like, hey, cool, you're in the dashboard component. And so at this point, this is another Angular thing I wanted to talk about. This application is pretty basic. So there's only like 4 components or something, and they're all right there. And I don't know if this methodology is still alive and active, but some people believe they should all just be like equal to each other in parallel, but I feel lost and I get stressed out. And so when I redid this, I broke all of the things into like, this is my dashboard, this is my hero card, this is my hero detail. As you can see, there's other things that I've added to this application that we'll get to, but I don't know, that's just how I do it. And so if we go back over, we need to find the style sheet, and it's named the same, so it'll be right next to it. But what was it? It was, what? Why did that say that? Yeah, dashboard, just dashboard component. So go straight into dashboard component CSS, SCSS, and we'll find, am I in the right one? Hold, I'm not in the right one. Haha, that's why the search was wrong. See, the colors really do help. So there's a lot of goodness here, and by goodness I mean goodness gracious. It feels very bootstrappy to me, what he's doing here. He's saying anything that has any class on the page that has call dash, we're going to go ahead and float left. First of all, why are we floating? It's 2021. Secondly, oh, good lordy, just to look at anything that's like call dash or row dash, I start to hyperventilate. It's like bootstrap flashbacks. So this is how I would clean this up and start to style it. Yeah, that's definitely what I would do. And apparently it's really upset at me right now. And just serve. Are you not serving? Are you not serving? Interesting. Did we stop it? We must have stopped it. So yes, and that's another fun thing. If you start to style everything in your dev tools and then you refresh and you're like, oh man, why did I do that? But I love it. I like to get things worked out. Why are you angry? Hang on, we can do this. I don't think I changed the modules or anything. Did I? No. Why are you angry at me? All right, let's see where we are. Yep, that is where I wanted to be. regular errors log? I really have no idea why you're so upset. Okay. Did I move something? Starting empty repo, English errors or styles. Is it mad at me for, oh, it's because I told you we could rename it, which we totally can, but somebody is depending on it being named styles dot. So we're just gonna throw in that on both places, and then we should be good in our Angular JSON, because it's pointing to that global style sheet. Don't be grumpy with me. Oh, look at all that red text. How dare you? All right. So yes, going back here, we want the dashboard view. So I did delete all the styles. It's just, it's just easier that way for me. But also, it's just for this one component that we're rewriting. I believe it was called, I think it was just an H3. So we're just gonna go ahead and say, we don't have to do anything if we want it to float left, but if we want it, because we just deleted that style that was telling it to center. But if we want all the cards to maybe be centered and beautiful, let's go ahead and recenter it. So text line center, and we're gonna call out, I don't know what those cards are called right now, but I'm gonna just say what I wanna say, and then we'll make sure that div exists. Or that class on the div exists. So I want to make it display flex and justify content center and give it a gap of 20 pixels. And this is a point where my mind immediately goes to that this is a flag of you need a variable for that, because I'm going to use that spacing that I'm using for the cards maybe underneath all the headers, right? And so really cool article. Check out the README again, naming font sizing variables. This one made me laugh so hard, but it's a really cool read on the conundrum of just naming variables, and especially in relation to size, because you can have small, medium, large, right? And these are our variables. So let's go do it. And be in the yellow one, Alyssa, because you're not a monster. I'm just gonna put them here, and then we'll put them in our style sheet in a minute. So we've got small, and we'll say small is like 10 pixels, medium, which is gonna be our 20, and then large, which will be like, I don't know, 50. And large, 50 pixels, why are you grumpy at me? Oh, duh, ugh, I'm such a goob. I'm such a goob. And when we rename it, I was trying to do Sass inside a CSS file. When we rename it here, let us not forget to make sure that our component, which I realized just now that I never actually showed you the component and how that's bootstrapped, make sure that the component style sheet is also changed. So this is a component. The selector is the name, and that's going to be what we say like my dashboard, et cetera, and that's how you pull it into a template. And then the URL for the actual template and the styles. And then down below, we've got some pretty basic stuff if you're used to classes, constructor, and that this is where all the good bootstrapping will happen, which everybody, and dependency injection. And then let's go back to this. Did it actually serve is our question of the day. Ha-ha, okay. So our dashboard page without the styles looks like this. So if we go and select these guys, they're beautiful, right? So we've got a div here, and this is what I want to do. We did do some display flex styles, but actually instead of redoing those styles, I'm just gonna go into the template and we're gonna add them. So we have this wrapper here, and instead of class call 1 for, we're going to do, I believe it was cards wrapper. And if we save and go back over here, perfect, we're getting somewhere. What's happening though is we have a column and we need a row. So it's a pretty easy fix. Trying to find our styles though, where are they? Oh, so if you'll notice we have multiple cards wrappers, and that's because I did it on the element that has the ng4. What I want is essentially, I want this to be the outer wrapper, and then this is the thing I want, the item I want you to loop. I don't need a div within a div multiple times. So if we save and we go, did I actually save my component? I don't know if there's any changes in there. Okay. So we have something. We have a row. They're evenly spaced. They don't have a background color. So let's go ahead and go back to our SAS and import. I didn't make a variables file, but I'm going to right now. And I'm just going to name it variables.scss. And at this point, our small, medium, larges, which I realized I stopped mid-rant there, so we'll get back to it. I need a new file for my variables. Thank you. Okay. And we also have some, if you remember, in our styles. Our purple, our beautiful purple. At import, I don't need you. Variables.scss. Although I think I might have to go inside of app for this one. I really should have put him here at this level. Can I just drag? Will it be grumpy at me? Did it do it? I think it did it. Cool. Okay, so variables should point, but this one now, I don't actually know if it needs, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I have the path wrong. I always do this. Someone gets a gift card if you can tell me how to fix the path real quick. / here. 2 dots. Madness. Ugh, this always happens to me. I always get it messed up. And it's always because I can never path correctly. / / I love it. The answer is to just keep dot slashing. I love it. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do because I always mess this part up. I'm gonna look at my other project now. Check it out. So I think I just have it within this folder, and I usually don't touch this guy. Quite honestly, the global style sheet, you're either in or you're out, okay? You're either listening to CSS and you're cascading how you should, or you're view encapsulating, right? So if you hate view encapsulation, as I do, you can disable it in your Angular component by saying, as you see here on line 15, underneath the selector and the template and the styles, I have said turn off encapsulation, right? View encapsulation, none. So essentially, you'd have to do this, there's no way to do it like on a module level. You have to do this per component, but you can have everything cascade. But anyways, I'm just gonna move variables back to where it was, and actually, what time is it? We've got like 20 is lunch, I've got like 10 minutes. I think it's time to show some Kendo UI. So let's stop this project. Why are you so tiny? Ah, yes. It's like, what are you doing here and why are you insane? I agree with you. Okay, we're going to go up to, I have a version of this and I put it in progress and it's called releases. So I keep this version alive and well, and it's also pinned in my GitHubs if you are interested. But it is this one. And so it's the one that I've gone ahead and broken things out. I'm including Sass and doing SCSS all over the place. And I also have not only a variables file, but a colors file because I had so many colors. So I definitely recommend if you're curious on like using Sass and using it in multiple places, and I just did it all over the place in this application, but I'm also including Kendo UI. So if I want you to be whole again. Are you served? I could probably look at the terminal to find out. It is not served. There it goes. Refresh. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and we're going to close this. Okay. So I ponified it. I replaced the heroes with My Little Pony Man, that is like, the colors are so different on that screen. And these cards, you know, I've got fun little pop-ups, and when you click on things, I've got like these loading indicators, and much of this is Kendo UI components, which can really help speed up your development. And so I wanted to have a little bit of time just to show you how you would do that in an application. So the cards are the first thing, and we could spend our time with this. I have no idea why the build is taking so ridiculously long. We're gonna try to serve up our old app again, but we'll see how long it takes. So we could spend our time building out the cards and then using those same styles, but the work has really already been done for you time and time again with different component libraries. I work for Progress, and they have this component library called Kendo UI, and I don't know why the font is so small. And one of the things inside the layout package on NPM is the card component, which is, I love how we have like these like in-browser, like view the code, view the example. I'm a big fan of that nowadays. I feel like we're really spoiled as developers. So we've got these cards that are already built out. So that is in fact what I'm using, what I was using here. Oh right, we've got compile issues. All right, we're gonna fix this. I've got 5 minutes, here we go. I don't need to import you because I'm really not gonna use you in here. And variables needs to go back. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller so I can see. Variables, where are you, darling? You need to go up in this general vicinity. Sharp. Oh wait, we still have the most ridiculous list of dots. Haha. And magic. Awesome. Okay. So we've got these cards. We don't really want to spend time making each one of these heroes. So we're going to go to, I really like to explain this part too because it can be kind of confusing. We have over 100 components in our Angular Kendo UI library. And so sometimes when you're on NPM, you're like, where is this component? How is this component? So over here on the left, if you're on our docs, that is like the mama package that holds all of the components. So if we go to the layout overview and scroll down, layout on NPM has avatar, card, drawer, expansion, right? They broke it out so that you're not downloading all 100. So if you go to the getting started of any of these top level mama packages is what I'm gonna call them, you'll have a quick setup with the Angular CLI with this ng-add command. I've already ran it, but if you wanna go ahead and add cards into yours, just copy it and run it on yours. Once you run that, you should be able to, and I have a snippet. I know it's cheating. I grabbed this from our docs, but I have a snippet, and I'm gonna go to our dashboard HTML, comment out this, actually, in here. And then comment that out and comment this. No, I need the loop. So it's just, I literally just ripped the Kendo card and I'm throwing it in there. And at this point, we don't have any data that we're like syncing to or anything. Command 0. So now we have these cards that are across the page. And what you would do is, as we were doing here to get hero name, instead of the hero title, right, we're just going to throw in the hero name. I don't know if we have any, because on the pony version, I have other info, but I don't think they're using this in-memory data service, which I continue to use to kind of mock API calls. So this is the only info we have. We have ID and name. So let's go ahead and actually say ID here, not that that's super interesting, but it's all we have. And burp, 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 burp. I know, everyone's probably like, how are you living? Everything's touching and there's no spacing. I know, I'm a monster. Okay, so that's how you plug in the data with Angular, the data binding. And then I do have a cleaned up version. I think we're almost to the top. Hold, yep, what I ended up with. So I have a longer version of this talk where I can actually take my time and walk you through the changes. This is not that. You are getting the sped up version. Okay, so yes, I just cleaned it up, added an H1, added an AP. I'm using also the Kendo avatar, which came from that same layout package that we npm installed. And let's go check it out. Let's see what it looks like. I think we're ready to wrap. And we're getting it 4 times over because I'm doing, I think, the loop twice. Merp. And which one? This one? Doesn't matter, does it? Okay. So anyways, that's a cleaned up version. And then at that point, you can start to go ahead and give your heroes actual avatars. I think I have a bug, so it's not re-rendering. But we covered a lot. We covered an introduction to Angular. We covered an introduction to Sass. We covered a little bit of styling, not as much as I wanted. And then we covered using a component library to go ahead and speed up and scale your applications. Are there any questions? Or are you ready for lunch? Oh my gosh, is that Mike? Shut up! If you're wanting to get into Angular, you should talk to Mike. He knows it. Sorry, he's an old friend. Well, cool. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you and your time. And come by the booth to find out if you're a winner. That is all.